Look, man, no one's ever told you this, but I have to tell you now. What they've told you about what women want, it's a pious lie disguised as tenderness, a polished narrative to avoid hurting feelings, so you keep believing that if you're kind, attentive, available, you'll end up being the chosen one. But there's something they never told you.
Often what a woman says she wants and what actually turns her on are two different things. Freud hinted at it outright in that mix of genius and provocation of his. Female desire is not logical. It's not orderly. It doesn't follow the laws of stability or security. It's chaotic. It's deep. It's unconscious. And if you don't understand this, you're doomed to become one of those men who crawl for emotional crumbs, convinced that the more they give, the more they'll receive. False. Because here's the truth. No one tells you. The more you try to please, the more you dilute yourself. The more you give in, the more invisible you become. The more you bend over backward to please, the further you move from what really ignites a woman's deep desire. Tension, mystery, emotional resistance. They don't want an emotional slave. They want a rock. They don't seek perfect explanations or sensitive speeches. They seek a firm, impenetrable presence that doesn't bend, that doesn't tremble when they tremble, that doesn't need validation to stand tall. The man who disturbs them, who drags them to the edge of emotional abyss, is not the one who emotionally bears himself at every opportunity. It's the one who holds back, the one who chooses when to show himself, the one who never gives everything because he knows that mystery is power. And you, who thought being the nice guy was the strategy, who thought that if you were always available, always willing, always smiling, you would win her heart. What you've won is contempt disguised as courtesy. You've won a spot on her emotional waiting list, just after the guy who doesn't call for 2 weeks, but when he appears, he shakes her inside. Do you know why? Because that man isn't desperate. Because that man doesn't beg. Because that man is self-sufficient. And no, it's not about playing the jerk. It's not about manipulating or pretending. It's about rebuilding yourself from within. Understanding that if you break every time someone doesn't reply to your message, you're not ready. That if your mood depends on whether or not they look at you, you're still a child disguised as an adult. Freud spoke of the unconscious as that place where the most primal, the most hidden impulses are kept, the ones we don't even admit to ourselves. And in that dark place, full of symbolism and repressed desires, hides a brutal truth. Female desire is not tied to peace. It's tied to intensity, to what makes her doubt, to what makes her nervous, to what she can't control. What she doesn't understand is what she can't stop thinking about. So, what are you doing trying to be predictable? What are you doing showing yourself as an open book? Desire needs gray areas. It needs gaps. It needs unanswered questions. The mistake is not showing your humanity. The mistake is showing it to someone who hasn't shown they can handle it. You're giving away your secrets to someone who didn't ask for them. You're revealing your fears to someone who hasn't even given you a reason to trust them. Seduction, that word that seems outdated, is still the key, but not the cheap seduction of rehearsed lines and hollow compliments. I'm talking about seduction that comes from self-control, personal mastery, the ability to be present without being dependent, to look without begging, to desire without pleading. Women don't desire the one who kneels. They desire the one who remains standing even when everything shakes, the one who knows how to say no, the one who has his own world, an inner universe that not everyone can access, because that universe becomes their obsession, because every time they touch it, they feel like they're discovering something forbidden, and the forbidden is irresistible. The problem is that most men today have been tamed by a narrative that emotionally castrates them. They've been told that being sensitive means being vulnerable, and that being vulnerable is the same as being weak. So they expose themselves completely. They cry on the first date. They confess traumas without being invited. They become transparent too soon. And then they don't understand why, despite all their honesty, women pull away. They pull away because the mystery died, because there's nothing to discover, because the tension faded. A man who is desirable is not the one who reveals everything. It's the one who chooses what to reveal. It's the one who masters his emotions, not the one who throws them up. It's the one who listens, but doesn't melt. It's the one who accompanies, but doesn't lose himself in the other. That man is an anomaly in a world of broken mirrors. That man is a magnet, don't be confused. Coldness is not the key. Coldness is a refuge for those who have nothing inside. The key is containment. It's being able to feel without being a slave to the feeling. It's being able to love without losing yourself. It's being able to desire without becoming a beggar. That is the strength that Freud glimpsed when he spoke of female desire as a force activated by the unattainable, the one that doesn't give in, the one that doesn't beg. The paradox is brutal. The more you contain yourself, the more intensely they desire you. The more focused you are on your path, your mission, your direction, the more you become an enigma. And the enigma is the fuel of desire. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask, how much of yourself have you given away without it being asked? How many times have you begged for attention disguised as interest? How many times have you confused closeness with urgency? You're exhausted because you've tried to be everything to everyone. You're empty because you've given without measure. You're frustrated because you never understood that desire is not earned, it's provoked. And it's provoked by what isn't easily given. The man who seduces from the soul is not the one who shouts, it's the one who vibrates differently. It's the one who doesn't need to prove anything because he already knows his worth. It's the one who walks firmly because he knows his path. It's the one who, in the face of someone else's emotional chaos, doesn't crumble. He holds it. That firmness is magnetic. That independence is addictive. Because it represents everything most people don't have. Because in a world of emotional excess, self-control is luxury. And you can be that luxury. But first, you have to kill the beggar that lives inside you. The one who begs, the one who waits, the one who pleads. You weren't born to beg for love. You were born to radiate presence. And here's the final twist, the part most men refuse to accept. The more you need yourself, the less you need to be loved. And when you don't need to be loved, you become irresistible. Because you no longer give from lack, you give from abundance. You no longer love to fill a void, you love because you have more than enough. Freud knew this before anyone. Female desire is activated when there are no certainties, when logic fails, when the soul twists in unanswered questions. They want to feel like they have you, but not possess you. They want to get close, but not invade. They want to touch you, but not fully reach you. And you, what do you want to be? A comfortable answer or an unforgettable question? Choose wisely, because that desire you think you can provoke with flowers and poems actually awakens in the darkness of the inexplicable. Don't domesticate it, don't explain it, provoke it. Because in the end, the man who doesn't need to be desired is the one who is the most. And here is where another aspect comes in that few understand and is directly linked to female desire. Contrast. There is no desire without contrast, no attraction without opposites. What excites is not uniformity, it's the living contradiction. And the man who awakens that in a woman is not the one who is defined by a single layer, but the one who carries layers that aren't easily seen. not the one who is always cold, nor the one who is always warm, but the one who can be ice and fire, and never when expected. That is the man who leaves a mark, not for what he gives, but for what he contains, for what he insinuates but doesn't concede. Female desire is ignited in the tension between what is shown and what is hidden, between what is offered and what is withdrawn. It's that ebb and flow that creates obsession, the one that activates fantasy. And fantasy, brother, is much more powerful than any reality. The mistake is thinking that by being completely good, completely giving, completely transparent, you'll conquer something. But absolute things don't seduce, they bore. Because in the absolute, there's no surprise, and desire feeds on the unexpected, on what breaks patterns, on what can't be predicted. When a woman thinks she already has you figured out, the mystery dies. And with the mystery, desire dies. Look around you. Most men today are desperate to be predictable, to be safe, to not make mistakes. And in that attempt to be perfect, they become flat. The edge disappears. The sharpness evaporates. They don't discomfort. They don't challenge. They don't provoke. And therefore they don't leave a mark, because it's not enough to be liked. Liking is easy. What's difficult is fascinating. What's difficult is being remembered when you're not around. What's difficult is having them think of you for no apparent reason. And that's not achieved by being correct. It's achieved by being unforgettable. Now listen closely. One of the biggest triggers of female desire is not physical. It's symbolic. It's what you represent, what you awaken in her imagination. If you represent comfort, you'll be valued. But if you represent challenge, you'll be desired. If you represent a peaceful life, they'll want you as a stable option. But if you represent depth, mystery, emotional mastery, you'll be impossible to ignore. Women, even though they say they seek peace, are drawn to controlled chaos. And I repeat, controlled chaos. It's not about being a destructive whirlwind. It's about being a storm that doesn't need to explode. That contained energy is what disarms them. It's knowing you could burn, but choose not to. Because self-control is more erotic than any declaration of love. And here comes another essential nuance: nonverbal language. Silence. The gaze held without hesitation. The pause before responding. Those small gestures that indicate that you're not nervous, that you're not seeking approval, that you can stay with her or without her, and still be just as complete. That's perceived, that's sensed, that alters. Because it's not what you say, it's what you project. It's not what you promise, it's what you are without needing to say it. We live in an era of constant exposure. Everyone talks, everyone shows, everyone yells to be seen. And do you know who stands out in the middle of that noise? The one who's silent, the one who observes, the one who retreats, the one who, instead of proving, simply remains. Because his mere presence communicates more than 1,000 words. That man is rare, he's different, and different attracts. Now, let's talk about another brutal trap. Emotional self-annihilation. Many men, when they enter a relationship or the game of seduction, begin to distort themselves. They soften. They mutate based on what they think she expects. They stop making their own decisions. They change their opinions. They renounce their essence. Why? To fit in, to be the ideal. But the ideal is boring. The ideal is artificial. And the artificial doesn't connect with the unconscious. And it's there where desire fades. Because in that attempt to adapt, you become just another one. Another who doesn't discomfort, who doesn't challenge, who doesn't bother, but also another who isn't interesting, who doesn't vibrate, who doesn't ignite anything, because no one desires a reflection of themselves. They desire the one who moves them, the one who stirs their gut, the one who confronts them, and at the same time holds them. And that can only be done by someone who has built themselves from the inside, who doesn't need to disguise anything. Freud said it plainly. The unconscious mind is full of impulses that don't accept social morality. Desire has no rules. Desire is not fair. Desire is not rational. So if you behave with logic, with rules, with predictable morality, you're going to appeal to her brain, but not her guts. And the gut is what decides. Desire is not built in the conscious mind, but in the most primitive part of being. And do you know what activates the primitive? The unexpected, the untamable, what you can't put in a box. You can be kind, you can be polite, you can be correct, and still be completely forgettable. But if you're unpredictable, if you have a shadow, if you don't always act as expected but do so with internal coherence, then a crack opens. A crack where obsession enters. And what is the core of all this? The power of your frame, your mental structure, what you're willing to allow and what you'll never yield. When a woman feels that your frame is stronger than her emotional chaos, something activates inside her. She doesn't understand why, but she starts to see you differently. Because while everyone else breaks in the face of her mood swings, you remain steady. While everyone else is desperate to please, you observe without begging. And that, deep in her psyche, is irresistible. So no, don't make yourself smaller to fit into her world. Make her want to climb to enter yours. Don't tell her you're willing to do anything to be with her. Tell her, without saying it, that you're already complete, and that if she wants in, she'll have to earn it. That not everyone gets in, that not everyone stays, not for ego, but for standard. Because your peace, your purpose, your path are worth more than momentary validation. And here's where I make it clear. A man who respects himself is a magnet. A man who doesn't negotiate his values to be liked becomes magnetic. He's not the most handsome. He's not the strongest. He's the one who doesn't kneel. He's the one who knows that even in the storm, his inner axis doesn't move. That man is not found every day. And when a woman finds him, even if she doesn't understand it, she's trapped between fascination and confusion. And you? Do you still want to fit in? Or do you prefer to become an anomaly? Because I'm telling you already, women don't desire the perfect man. They desire the one who, with all his demons well integrated, keeps walking firm without asking permission. They desire the one who doesn't submit to chaos, but contains it. The one who doesn't dissolve in his emotions, but channels them. The one who doesn't give himself completely right away, but gives himself in pieces, always leaving something that can't be fully reached. Because in the end, desire is this: a game of distances, of what touches but is not given, of what insinuates but doesn't explain, of what could explode but doesn't. The one who learns to master that game doesn't need to chase. He is chased. He doesn't need to beg. He is sought. He doesn't need to say he's worth it, because his mere presence already shouts it. And now listen carefully, because we're coming to the point where many disconnect, but you're not like the others. If you've made it this far, it's because you sense that what you're hearing is not just about women. It's about you, about who you really are when you're not trying to please, about that man you've hidden out of fear of not being accepted. But acceptance without authenticity is a prison with flowers. And there's something else no one dares to tell you. She doesn't want to conquer you. She wants to discover you. And for that, you need to have something worth discovering. If everything in you is served on a platter from the first second, if every emotion is delivered without anyone asking for it, if your soul is on sale, where's the magic? Where's the vertigo? Vertigo. That feeling that mixes fear with desire. That makes someone approach knowing they could get burned, but still stays. That's what makes a connection not just another story, but a mark that can't be erased. And that vertigo can only be caused by someone who doesn't beg, someone who doesn't adapt, someone who doesn't lower the volume of their essence to fit in a room that doesn't deserve their presence. Because there's one final truth no one dares to scream. If you have to beg, you're not in the right place. If to be loved, you have to dissolve your character. If to be desired, you have to pretend a softer version of yourself. You're negotiating your soul for crumbs of affection. And you know what? She feels it too. She may not say it, she may not verbalize it, but in her most primal instinct, she smells it. And when she smells it, she leaves. Not physically, maybe, but emotionally she leaves. Because no one desires what they don't respect. And no one respects someone who doesn't respect themselves. So here it is clearly. Don't change to please. Grow so that liking you becomes a privilege. Don't show everything you are. Make discovering you a process, not a presentation. Don't offer your soul as a business card. Offer your address. And let only the brave arrive. And now, we'll close this as it deserves. If any part of you has awakened with these words, if you felt that discomfort that precedes transformation, then this video has done its job. You didn't come here just to understand women. You came to remember what you are, to reclaim what the world tried to take from you with rules, well-intentioned advice, and cheap validation. This channel isn't for everyone. It's for those who are willing to burn and rebuild. For those who understand that desire isn't provoked from the surface, but from the roots. For those who want to stop being an echo and start being a voice. So, if this has resonated with you, subscribe. Not because I ask you to, but because you know you'll find what no one dares to tell you here. And if you want this conversation to continue, leave the phrase in the comments. I'm not your reflection, I'm your vertigo. Let it be known who is awake. And now, listen to this final whisper as if it were a tattoo for your mind. You're not just another man. You weren't designed to crawl. You were born with the ability to start fires in silences where others only know how to scream. And when the world doesn't know how to label you, don't hold back. Smile. Because those who can't be defined are the only ones who truly matter. See you next time. And remember, don't explain your fire to those who only understand ashes. See you in the shadows.